Welcome to the G-Spot.
Five, four, three, two, one.
Hello everybody and welcome to Dynamic GT League's G-Spot, this one being number 15, with a couple of things from race 7 and maybe a thing or two from race 8, I can't remember. For anyone that doesn't know what the Dgt-G-Spot is, it's a really sensitive area, isn't it, Ray?
Yeah, that's Gary's who's found it yet.
Yeah, absolutely. He's found something this season anyway.
Well,
especially from this week's race. Well, yeah. For anyone that doesn't know, Dgt-G-Spot, it's where we can look at weird and wonderful things that happen in the DGT League races. We can have a look at great overtakes if people let us know to look at them. And we can talk about stuff that happens or show funny stuff that happens. But also, if things get reported and penalties have to be given or not given, we can show why decisions have been made.
Also, a disclaimer is we show this from parts of the races. It's never to put any one driver down or put any of the drivers down. It's mere fun.
Yeah, fun or educational. Yeah.
Educational, yeah.
Yeah.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the punchline. Talking about.
Did you know? Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, an A B C D E alphabet song is the same tune.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh, you can remember nursery? I can't.
Well, one thing I do know is that at a school recently, the students in a class all ate their homework because the teacher said it was a piece of cake.
All right.
Okay, so yeah, fun, guys. So as we said, we may look at many different things over the course of doing this at times. But one of the things that we are going to have a look at today is a report that was put in on last week's race where a penalty was being given. So what I'm going to say here is G1 race 7 report having a party at Granny's. So Ray, over to you for the incident report.
Incident report was, I think this is just over the line of a late move by Dave the Harp. I know it's a corner you can brake late into because of the bank and the turn, but I don't think I should have had to see the racing line given where Dave the Harp was coming from which it was what I would have had to have done to avoid contact. The contact subsequently put me wide into the gravel.
And it did. The steward's view on that then being Dave the Harp makes a move up the inside of Art Powell into the hairpin. There is contact at the apex, and then Art Powell ends up in the gravel on the corner exit. The steward's verdict is a stage 2 penalty for forcing another driver off the track, which is a -3 points deduction from Dave the Harp's championship total. The initial move from Dave was fine. He was within a fair range of Art Powell and was in control of his car at the apex, with the contact caused by Art Powell closing the door. However, on the corner exit, Dave drives right to the edge of the track and leaves no space for Art Powell, who ends up in the gravel as a result. Okay, so we're going to have a look at that now then. So as we click onto the footage in 3, 2, 1, let's go. We may have seen a bit of this on the actual race footage last week. So we've got Art Powell, Gary, Dave Harp, Twilight in a close battle here. Art Powell moves to the outside of Gary. Dave moves up to the inside of Art Powell. Difficult to see if there's any touch there, but then we see Art Powell ends up in the gravel. So we're taking a look at it from Art Powell's view here. And I can understand why you may think that Dave's gone for a late move looking at the virtual mirror, but as we know, that can be deceptive. And it's quite clear to see that I didn't really have anywhere to go. But we'll have a look at it from off board here. So nothing wrong with what Gary does here. Defends the inside, nothing wrong with what Artpal does here. And on the report, it just said that Artpal closed the door. Well, Artpal's gone for the corner. However, Dave the Heart was there, so it's one of those where Artpal has to understand that Dave could be there. So Dave up the inside, in control of his car, and then runs all the way to the edge of the track. And this is the part that the stewards have really sort of focused on. It's everything going into the corner is fine. Is what happens from the apex. So as Dave is closing in here, nicely into the gap, and then out towards the edge of the track. So although there's only a bit of contact at the apex, it is important to mention a few things here. So as Artpal is at the braking point, we'll have a look at the gap between Dave and Artpal. It's not huge. It's about a car's length. Into this corner, I'd say it's within a range where there's potential opportunity for someone to go for it, as Dave does. So as this skips forward, Dave's slowing the car down nicely. Artpal, I would guess, hasn't realised that Dave the Op has got there, has gone towards the apex. Dave also now turning in for the apex. A little bit of contact, nothing wrong with this so far. That's what can happen in racing. But it's from this point where both drivers then have to go, right, obviously I need to give the other guy room. And although there is no further contact, Artpal cannot move left at all here. So as Dave is trying to get past, he's still got an overlap of the cars. There's no contact, but Artpal's sort of not being left any space there. Dave ends up all the way over towards the edge of the track, and I'm going to stop it there to have a bird's eye view of this, because this does give a good view of what I'm on about here. So even though there's no contact, you can see here that Artpal has no space to put his car in. There is no car's width space there. So although Dave the Harp has not hit Artpal off, where Dave has put his car has resulted in Artpal's only option is ending up off the track. Now, a couple of things to sort of mention on that is, because someone might say, well, how could you get a penalty if you've not actually hit someone? You don't have to hit someone to force them off the track. At the end of the day, the rule is that in DGT League, you have to leave a car's width. And unfortunately, that's what Dave hasn't done. And I can imagine some people that perhaps don't know the DGT rules, Ray, they may say, well, Artpal should have backed out of it. That gap was always closing.
Yeah, they could say that, but we've got the rule in there to give. It gives more racing and just that way, if somebody throws it up, there's up the inside, they can't claim the corner. So yeah, nobody should be claiming the corner. It should be a fair battle.
Yeah, the other thing is,
I mean F1.
No, the other thing as well is that I mean, we do it for fun. We do this for fun, and what we don't want to be doing is seeing people forced off the. This is not a dig at anyone, by the way. I'm mentioning this in case there's somebody watching this that has never watched anything to do with DGT. And so we have the rule in there that you have to leave the car's width. Because what we don't want to see is people forcing other people off the track. Because what that results in is those people that have been forced off the track getting annoyed, frustrated, and not wanting to race. Or retaliating. And I mean, it happens occasionally in our races. It can happen. Mistakes can be made, and it's rare that you'll see retaliation. But if we didn't have that rule in there and anyone could push anyone off at any time, then it would end up with a lot of angry people, I reckon. But that's why it's not something we really want to watch. As you said, it makes for better racing. It also makes for people who've got to have better car control, because if they're going to go for an overtake, they've got to make sure they get the car slowed down and got to make sure that they're able to get around the corners without forcing other people off the track. So a couple of things in that, and as I said, you don't have to hit someone in a situation like this where, I mean, if Dave had been able to leave Art Pal a car's width and Art Pal had ended up off the track in the same way, then it'd be nothing to do with Dave. It would be a very different situation. But unfortunately for Dave, he's sort of gone to the edge of the track while Art Pal's still there. And Art Pal, in trying to do the right thing and making sure there's no contact between the two, has ended up in the gravel. And I suppose that kind of, I mean, it begs a question in a way. And I'm going to ask you, Ray, what's the right thing for someone in Art Pal's position to do there? Would it be to forcefully try and stay on the track?
It's not going to benefit him try to forcefully stay on the track, because all it's going to do is cause a collision with Dave the Harp, and that way the front wheel and back wheel connect with each other. Dave the Harp won't be able to turn as well, so it's just going to hamper him. So Art Pal's done what he could at that moment of time, and fair play to him. He's went off and he's carried on and reported it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. I mean, Dave may have had no idea that it happened. I mean, on the view that we saw a moment ago, on board Dave's car with the viewer uses with a virtual mirror. Again, it's deceptive, so it can look like Art Pal is behind when he's not. But at the same time, I mean, I say this for anyone that does use that view. There's only so many times that we can sort of say, don't trust that view because it is wrong. But also, there's only so many times we can bring things to people's attention. So, like with the radar in this current championship, we know the radar's wrong, and we've done pretty much all we can to let all the drivers know that the radar's wrong. But if we were to see someone's having incidents in a race, perhaps trying to tuck in behind people, but hitting them because they thought that there was a gap because of the radar, it wouldn't be something that I think we could go. Okay, so this is hypothetical. Let's say Dave the Hart says, well, the radar showed that there was a gap. Well, the admins and the stewards are in a situation where they can say, well, look, not to be funny, but we've done everything we can to make everybody aware of the radar. It's not something that can be used as an excuse. I mean, it can be used as I've been done by the radar. Understandably, no problem. You still might get a penalty. And I mean, that goes for me as well. I mean, I know in the race we've just done, I went for a corner thinking I had a gap, and then looking at the replay, I was probably about 2 centimetres short of having that gap. So I made a little bit of contact with someone. And so I got done by the radar. Now, had that resulted in a big crash and a report and a penalty, I'd have to suck it up and take it. Okay, anything else to add on that one, Ray?
Was it you're sucking up?
Penalty points. Okay. Or in this weather, Isolon is. Okay.
That was just unfortunate, to be honest.
Yep.
Just unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I say, it is, but at the same, I could understand why Art Pal thought it was potentially a late move, but again, he's been deceived by the mirror, which makes it look like Dave's come from a long way back, when in actual fact he hasn't. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, shall we? So, G2, Race 7, the Battle of Forgiveness. Now, Ray, you'll remember last week we saw this little bit of footage on the main video, 2 cars going slow. So, I wonder what happened. I was having a look at Art Pal, who was one of those cars that was going slow. So the cars coming along, going down the road and going into a corner. And what do we see? Little touch between Twilight, Twilight, Conrad, Art Pal and Conrad. Or Art Pal and Twilight even. And then Art Pal... Go on.
No, I won't comment because I don't know if I'm in sync.
All right. So we're on board now with Conrad round the outside of Twilight. A little bit of a touch there, looks him out wide. A little bit too much throttle by Conrad, and around he goes. Conrad does get going again, and then what he's about to find on the track is what we didn't really get to see last week, which is Conrad, as I said, is going to get going again, up over the hill, and he's going to see Art Pal going slow. So he's going to pass Art Pal. So, okay, maybe it's Art Pal then that nudged him off, and then he's going to come into the final couple of corners. You'll see Twilight that's also going slow. So it looks like Twilight's thinking it was his fault. So Twilight letting Conrad through, which he does, and then Conrad pits. So that would satisfy me of whoever's fault this was. They let Conrad through. Now from Twilight's view here, just gets a little bit of understeer, nudges Conrad, and out Conrad goes. Twilight thinks it's his fault, so he's pulled over. But this is actually the point where Art Pal is saying to Twilight, "It's alright, Twilight, keep going. It was my fault. I hit you into Conrad." So Twilight's thinking, okay, it was okay, well, I'll carry on then. But if we look from Art Pal's view, Twilight actually nudges Conrad wide, but then Art Pal nudges Twilight. But if we look at Art Pal's rearview mirror, I think the timing of it, when Art Pal has sort of come round the corner, made contact with Twilight, and then been able to look in his mirror, he's then seeing Conrad spinning. I think in his mind he's thinking, oh, I've hit Twilight, Twilight's must have hit Connor, Connor's spun. But actually what's happened is Twilight's nudged Connor, Connor's gone wide, Art Pal has then nudged Twilight, Art Pal's waited when he didn't need to. He's also then told Twilight to keep going when Twilight needed to wait. And then Conrad, as he's retaking the places, dives into the pits. So all very interesting and yeah, quite amusing if you ask me.
Yeah, that was that was fun. Like I've not really looked. That's the first time I've seen it, and yeah, I think Art Pal done himself there.
Yeah, definitely. What I mean, obviously, it wasn't something that was reported. Art Pal did mention it to us. He did say you might want to have a look at this, but I do actually want to cover something semi-seriously here.
I don't think Conrad was in the chat to say
He wasn't, no.
I'm going for the pits, guys. Don't worry. So
No, but
and fair play to Twilight. He made the mistake and he waited, and fair play to him. But I think he would have been. He's gone for the pits.
well, yeah, potentially. But there's a couple of things I want to mention about that. Okay, so look, if I look at it, it was not a fully serious head-on, but a slight serious head-on. Okay, first of all, let's say it was reported, but we know that Art Pal had told Twilight to keep going. Now, because of that conversation and Twilight past Art Pal, had Twilight gone, then there would have been no way of putting any penalty on Twilight, because he's got somebody else saying, no, it was my fault, I'll take the blame, I'll wait for him, it's my fault, you carry on. So in that situation, I think Twilight would have been fine to go. Now, in hindsight, obviously Art Pal's wrong, but like I said, if it had been reported, I don't think I could have agreed to giving Twilight a penalty. But also interesting, I looked at it, Ray, and I thought, same as you. Twilight's waited for Conrad, and then like Conrad's just come past him and then got into the pits. And if you're Twilight, you're probably going to be going, oh, fuck you, I just fucking waited for you, and you fucking pitted. But then I wondered, it's like, well, Twilight could have gone slower. Could have let him through earlier on the track.
Yeah. But then he might have been trying to figure out, was it him or was it the contact with Art Pal, just with the kind of timing,
Yeah.
But and then maybe realised, no, it was me, and then I had to slow down quicker than what he was doing. But yeah, there was so much in that, from like Art Pal saying, sorry, my fault, keep going, Twilight, to Twilight having to figure out was it him, where he should have bloody known it was him.
Yeah. The thing is that it is difficult at times. I mean, it is difficult. I mean, like Art Pal genuinely thought he was the one that caused it, but yeah, sometimes shit happens. But this is what I said it in commentary, which would be yesterday now. That once again we'll see things where what people think happened isn't what happened. Now, this is a funny example of that, which is fair enough. I think we've time to move on to the next one. So, let's get ready and have a look at that one. So, G3, Race 7, box, stay out, box. Now, this is from last week as well. And this is Twilight coming around the final corner. Big tank slapper in the pit entry. And in the pits he goes. Now, this is an interesting one because Twilight didn't want the pits here. He got a bit wobbly on the curb, booted the throttle, round he goes, wanted to stay out, but saw Dave was there. Now, for Dave, he wanted the pits. And actually, I got to say, in a very difficult situation, not a lot of time there, Dave was able to, I think, spot he may not want the pits here and was able to sort of dab the brakes on. But yeah, for me, I find that one amusing because it's so easy to boot it out of a corner like that and end up facing the wrong way. That, I think
You're in the pit.
that you're in the pits. And for some reason, I think we might be covering something similar to that next week's G-Spot. We'll have to wait and see. Should we move on? Yeah, should we move on to the next one? Okay, so gee whiz, to wear or not to wear? Okay, I'm going to show you two images now and match the wear with the car. So look at the tyre wear. Which of these two cars has got the worst wear? Meow. Yeah, you might be wrong. Steve F1 has got brand new tyres on here. Behind Art Pal, who's got knackered tyres. Steve F1 gets caught out by Art Pal going a bit slower because of his knackered tyres. And to be fair to Steve, took evasive. But looking at it from Art Pal's view, his tyres are knackered. Looking at his rear view, he is cautious into this corner, which I get because of his tyres are knackered. I mean, he's gone slow and he still sort of only just sort of makes it around the corner. And yeah, for Steve F1, a bit of a heart-stopping moment there, maybe.
Why didn't he
go
pull out
right?
why didn't he pull out the slipstream before?
Well, the thing is,
When he was seeing it, he was catching it.
I simply think he just got totally caught out too quick. Because at a corner where, with fresh tyres, you're turning in just about flat out. When you got it, I mean, he's just been caught out by the car ahead being on knackered tyres, knowing that they're going to have to lift off and slow down a bit. He's even gone down a gear, so perhaps slow down a bit more than some might, but it's definitely caught Steve out. The funny thing for me is, if Steve had taken evasive to the right, he'd have done a decent overtake.
Yeah, they took the wrong way.
Yeah, but fair play to him. He did the right thing though. He took evasive. It's not and it's not easy to do. I mean, you don't really get to think about it. It's a split-second decision. And fair play to Steve on that one. Now, it did hurt his race a little bit, but Steve has said that it's not Art Pal's fault at all. He also brought it to our attention, did Steve, for the fun of it. Anything else you want to add on to that one?
That was funny, but yeah.
Well, you know what they say about cliffhangers?
Yeah.
So, on to the next one. On to the next one, which is a GX. Protocol change and driver numbers. Okay, this might get a little boring for Ray as I read through this, but so this is a notification that we sent out to the drivers in the last week, so I shall read it out. Hey, the DGT admins would like to bring something to your attention and get your feedback on it. We are thinking of changing the protocol of what we do if we have low numbers on race day. Currently, we say if we have 10, we race. If we have less than 10, we postpone to the next week. This is something we want to change. Before we do go into that though, Demon R and SRI spent some time looking back at what numbers we had around this time of year over the last few years. And there is a pattern of lower numbers during this period. So, we are not concerned by low numbers at this time, although going forward we will look at making changes around this time of year. As an example, arranging for our Dirty Championship Series events to take place over the summer holiday period and Christmas period. The change of protocol that we would like... What? You've got about them up there.
You cut out for me, sorry.
Oh, just for you, don't worry about it. The change of protocol that we would like to discuss has been brought about because of the race at Monza this season that had to be postponed due to low numbers on race day. We have no major issue with that. However, when the race was to be rerun, we very nearly had too low a number again. This was a concern for the admins, as it isn't something that has happened before and we had no protocol in place for it. We also did not like the idea of having to postpone the race again, and this led to a few discussions between the admins. We contemplated a number of ideas. For example, a race could be postponed once, but then next time, if there are low numbers, the race goes ahead anyway. Or perhaps we keep postponing races until we have 10 drivers. Or perhaps we race for the fun of it and the pleasure of it, so we just race no matter what the numbers are and don't postpone any races. Well, what we have decided on at the moment is if we know the day before race day that we will have less than 10 drivers, we will postpone the event and host some random lobbies on a race day instead. If we get to race day though, on the understanding that we will have 10 or more drivers, but then by race time we have less than 10, the race will go ahead regardless of the number of drivers available. By doing this, I've written that wrong. By doing this, we are hope to bring in more communication to us when drivers aren't available, and to allow drivers to know the day before if an event needs to be postponed, and that once we get to race day, the race will go ahead, taking away any doubt for the drivers about what will happen. We are aware that we could still be in a situation where an event could be postponed twice in a row. However, we are going to be taking action towards finding new drivers without pushing it to the wrong people or making any of the current drivers feel pushed out. One way we will do this is by banning everybody. No, I'm joking. One way we will do this is after practice on Mondays, we will do a couple of races with an open lobby to see who appears. And when there are no events on a Thursday, we can have some open lobby races then too and see who comes along. We are in no rush to find people, especially given the information that Demon R and SRI researched earlier in this message. What we say now is feel free to give us your opinion on the ideas put forward, or if you have any further ideas, don't hesitate to mention them. Thanks for your time, DGT admins. So Ray, anything to add?
No,
I thought you was going to start making fucking snoring noises then, again.
Yeah, it's something nearly happened, and the admins got together and talked about it pretty quickly to go forward.
Yeah, the thing is, it's not just about setting rules or anything. It's more about it's simply so we know what we should do and everybody else knows what would happen, so we don't end up in a situation where we're trying to work out what we're going to do and we've got people going, what's happening?
Well, it's not it's not a rule, it's a protocol.
Well, yeah,
So,
absolutely. I mean, it's something I will touch on just in case it wasn't clear in that message. What me and Ray did notice is that in this time period where it is the summer holidays, and that is a key point that we sort of hinting at, is that we do believe that because it is the summer holidays, numbers will differ. It's when people go on holiday, and if you think about it, how many people we've had: Jason going on holiday recently, Dave the Art going on holiday recently, Jimmy's gone on holiday recently, Bunsel's on permanent holiday recently, but there has been different people, and it's chopping and it would make sense to have the non-official league events over this period of time, so the drivers aren't missing out, which I think is a good thing. But also the other part of it about when we postpone and when we don't. What we noticed with the second race at Monza that we thought may end up getting postponed, I kind of got the impression from the drivers that were there in the lobby, they didn't know what was going to be happening. And I didn't really like that, and I don't think Ray did or the two Steves did. And that's why we'd rather be able to say, right, once we get to race day, it goes ahead. Because then at least those that are able to make it, they know there isn't any, oh, are we racing or are we not racing? We're going to know for certain.
yeah.
And I think...
And we still would like drivers to tell us if they're not going to able to make it.
Yeah.
Not so that we can cancel it, just so we can get a rough idea of the numbers that's going to be there.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. If people, if people can let us know before race day, brilliant. If it gets to race day and people can't make it, it still benefits us for them to let us know that they can't make it.
Or even if I'm going to be late,
Yeah.
right, we'll put the mandatory 10-minute.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We have no problem. We've done it before. If people are legit going to be late, run a bit late from getting home from work or whatever it may be, can you hang on 10 minutes? No problem. We don't mind doing that. And what we touched on it the other week. The one reason why. Go on.
No, sorry.
I was just going to say, it's kind of touch about the red arrows type thing. We say, yeah, we'll wait 10 minutes. We'll wait the 10 minutes because what it actually does is it gives you 20 minutes because you can still turn up after 10 minutes because there's a 10-minute qualifying session. So if we give a 10-minute delay, you could still actually turn up at 18 minutes past 8. Now, yes, we would finish qualifying and have to reset the lobby and set it manually, but you can do that. And it's just like on a normal race day. If we're starting 8 o'clock and you don't get on until 8:08, now, if you haven't let us know, okay, we're going to be like, well, you're late, but we can restart the lobby for you. It's not a problem. We'd rather have people there and racing than them going, oh, well, I'm 5 minutes late, I won't bother. They've already started. No, it's not a problem. We have that protocol in place of if someone joins us, it's there for if someone gets disconnected during qualifying, they can rejoin. But also, if somebody is a few minutes late, it's not a problem. Better if you let us know that you're going to be late. But having said that,
you know what thing I'm still waiting on?
Go on.
A picture of these red arrows above Richie's house.
Yeah, so am I actually. Yeah.
I want to see what they look like. I've never seen them in the sky.
I think he needs to draw them.
There is a point that actually admins need to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
How low
do we go?
Do we? Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. We race for the fun of it, the pleasure of it, so we just race no matter what the numbers. Once it gets to race day.
We never spoke about how low. Maybe we just did it like that way.
No.
Or maybe I don't think that way, but
you perhaps didn't. Maybe you didn't think that way, but the way I took it and the way it's written here is, if we get to race day on the understanding that we will have 10 or more drivers, but then by race time we have less than 10, the race will go ahead regardless of the number of drivers available. So it doesn't matter. I mean, well, let's put it this way: if it turns out that we
You
end
Steve
up with like
F1
8
last
people,
race.
yeah, well, Steve F1 wouldn't like that because he wouldn't have much chance of winning. He needs other cars, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those. If we ended up with a silly situation where come race day there's only 4 of us, then what we may find is that we race and we don't do a video on it. But something would have drastically have had to go wrong for us the day before to have had 10 or more, and then race day only have 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. But we race for the fun of it, so yeah. And this is one of the things, I mean, perhaps I'm emphasising it too much, but I think it's good to emphasise that when we boil it down to why do we do this, it's for the fun of it. So it doesn't matter how many people are there. I mean, I'm sure plenty of us are capable of having lots of fun on our own.
Speak for yourself.
Or as Dave the Harp's finding out, lots of fun with a Tina Turner impersonator. You know we've been trying to get her number. Right. I've got a quick question for you, Raymond.
Is his big wheel turning on him?
It might be. We're going to end up with a news report. Tina Turner found drowned in paddling pool. I mean, just as you were taking a drink. For anyone who doesn't know, as I only say that because Dave's got a paddling pool. He's gone on holiday. He's got. To be fair, I'm jealous because I'd love to have a paddling pool here right now.
Why is it a paddling pool on holiday when he's himself?
Hey, I'd do exactly the same thing. I mean, honest to God, if I could have a paddling pool in my garden right now, I would. The only problem is I don't have a garden. So, yeah.
Not at a campsite, though.
Well, no.
Yourself.
No. Yeah, but I'm not being daft, right? You sit in a, I forgot what it's fucking called now. You sit in a paddling pool with a case of beers next to it. Weather like this, it ain't going to be long until there's going to be more people with you. You know what they say about people that go on these camping holidays?
What?
Oh, they're right sexual deviants, aren't they? If the caravans are rocking.
Don't come knocking.
No, it's an earthquake. Okay, question for you. Think of something that is massively overpriced.
Okay.
Tell me what it is.
Tax.
Yeah, tax, petrol.
Government fucking issues.
Yeah. Velcro.
It's overly priced. Velcro.
Yeah, Velcro.
It's
It's a rip-off!
not current as well.
And on that note, thanks for watching. Join us on the next G-Spot. I'm sure it'll be an interesting one. Have a good one, everybody, and we'll see you all again soon.